Hello, and welcome back to Madness in the Method, the podcast where we talk about Nicolas Cage and all the fun movies he's made over the years. It's so much fun to do this podcast, especially today. But before that, my name is Tobias, and with me as always is my a friend and trusty co-host Christopher.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, and today we are talking about a legendary Nicolas Cage movie, probably one of the movies that kind of started the whole Nicolas Cage meme. We're talking about the 2006 the Wicker Man, the Wicker Man remake, the infamous Wicker Man. Not the bees, not the bees. Yes, exactly, that movie. Originally a 1973 British quote-unquote horror movie. I don't know. Starring what's his name? Saruman. Christopher Lee. Right.
Yeah.
Which became a cult classic, so they decided, let's make a bland American version of it.
Yeah.
And we'll have Nicolas Cage, not as the crazy cult leader, but as the cop?
Yeah, he should have been the cult leader.
That could have been fun, yeah. But, the director had other plans.
Yeah. So, first off,
just
we've all seen this movie. It's infamous. If you've ever been down the so bad it's good rabbit hole in movies, you have seen this movie, or at least know of it.
Yeah.
But this was the first time I think I saw. So I've seen the original before, and I've seen Nicolas Cage one before, but I've never really seen them back to back.
No, me neither.
One thing that really struck me now when I saw the original first, and then I think the day after I saw the remake. The remake loses a lot of the fun if you know what they're going for.
Yeah.
Because I think the biggest, the big fun of the Wicker Man, the remake, the Nicolas Cage one, is that you don't really understand what the fuck are they thinking. What's going on? Why are they doing these weird fucking scenes that doesn't really lead anywhere? Why is he just running around doing nothing? But if you see the original, if you have that fresh in your mind, you see, oh, okay, I see what they're going for, and they miss the mark completely. It's not this weird enigma anymore. It's just, oh, they just did this badly, sort of.
Yeah. Yeah, the director he was kind of, because I was reading him up on the movie and listening to the commentary track for the movie, and it was Nicolas Cage's production company, I don't remember the name of it, that wanted to make the movie or remake the movie. So, and they hired the director and asked him to give us your vision. And he had seen the original. He liked the original. He was a fan, a big fan of the original. But first, then you should ask yourself, why would you even make a remake of a cult film like this if you're a fan of the original? But second of all, his choice was to go in a, this is a quote from him, completely different direction than the original. Sure, that can be interesting, but the direction he went in is just confusing and weird.
Yeah, it's not in a different direction. And there are a lot of scenes and a lot of lines which is straight from the original. It's just that they sort of jumble it together, and then they do some in every choice throughout this movie. When you can go you're going to do this way or that way. They constantly take the worst of the two options.
Yeah.
That's sort of what happens in that movie.
Yeah, no, but I think what he meant with a completely different direction is that the original movie is it's Christianity versus paganism.
Yeah,
that's literally it, and it's an interesting look at because the Christian cop in the movie is so appalled by everything that the pagans are doing, but I mean. We watched the new or new-ish final cut of the old movie.
Yeah, the unrated version, not the final cut. Well, no, the old
No,
one.
the old one.
All right,
the old
sorry.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that came out like a few years ago, and it has. It opens with a new scene in a church where the cop Constable Howie talks. You know, he talks about the Last Supper and how Christ was like, oh, this is my body, eat of my body. This is my blood, you can drink of my blood. Blah blah blah. And they throughout the movie points out how the religions are kind of similar, but just because it's not Christian and it's more free and not so constricted, it's a horrible religion that is corrupting the minds of the children of the island.
The original is very, very like Christian Panic from the time, sort of.
Yeah. But the thing is that the director, Robin Hardy, the original director, he didn't take sides. I mean, I guess in the end, the pagans do kill someone, who wasn't in on it. So I guess they're technically the bad guys. But the movie really paints this picture of like, well, religion is religion. Just because you don't like our ways doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, and they're both kind of point out a lot of the similarities. In this new version, the director and writer Neil Labute, he wanted to make it, instead of Christianity versus paganism, it would be man versus woman. Which, it ties into the whole bee theme.
Yeah.
But he doesn't do much with it.
Yeah, and it's sort of this... I don't know, it's like this weird kind of... It definitely seems like he's taking side, and it really seems he probably don't think so, but it seems like he's trying to paint a picture of how bad feminism is, sort of.
Yeah.
One.
I don't think that's, and I think that's where he went so wrong. I don't think that wasn't his intention.
Yeah,
but that's how it comes off.
Yeah, it definitely comes off like this.
It's a horror movie about an island of women who kills a man. Yeah. They lure him there with their feminine guile, and tease him, and they snicker at him, and then they burn him to death in the end. Like, and it comes off super misogynistic.
Yeah, and it really just this thing that the men they're not allowed to speak, and they're very subservient.
They don't even teach them to speak. They can't speak.
Yeah, and it's just this thing of, this is kind of, I mean, if you're going for man versus woman, both sides are equally good or equally bad. You can't just make one side definitely 100% worse.
Yeah. I mean, the leader of the island, played by the mom from The Exorcist, whatever her name is, Ellen Burstyn, right?
Burstyn, yeah.
She even says, like, when he points out, like, oh, that sounds like you just hate men when they're talking towards the end of the movie. She's like, no, we love our men. Of course we do. They're very important for breeding.
Hey. Yeah, I mean, this is sort of this. The island is society that incels think that feminism wants. That's sort of what's going on, and it's just it comes up very, very weird.
Very weird,
and that's.
I'm surprised. You pointed out. I'm surprised there hasn't been a resurgence of this movie. With the rise of the incel over the last few years. Yeah.
And that's not even the worst part of the movie.
No, that's just, poor execution of an interesting idea. But yeah. The technical aspects of this movie is the worst part. My God.
It's, first of all, because the first movie is it's a very slow movie.
Yeah,
but it's never boring. It's just it has this sort of which you don't really see that much these days. With this, it's a horror movie, but it's like more of a creeping something is off, but I can't put a finger on it.
Yeah.
Sort of like the first third of the Jordan Peele movie.
Get Out.
Yeah, Get Out.
Yeah,
Sort of the first
but it's
third
just
of
awkward
that.
at first.
Yeah, it's just something is off, something is weird, but we don't know what, and that sort of is disturbing. And that's the entire original is like that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the first hour is not really. There's no horror unless you find paganism disturbing.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like a musical because there's so many songs being sung,
so much music,
so much singing and dancing. Yeah. But then when he really starts to investigate the murder more, when he breaks in to look at the pictures and he reads about their rituals and everything, you're about there's like 25 to 30 minutes after the movie. That's when the really creepy stuff starts to creep in.
Yeah.
And when you arrive at the end, it's like super disturbing how they fooled him.
Yeah. And in this movie, because that's also a big thing, because again, the first one is very slow, and it is about an investigation. He's looking for clues. It's sort of like an old point-and-click adventure, sort of. He just goes to a place, find a little piece of the story, and then he goes to another place, find another thing. And I think the best part of the movie is this, when he figures out the sacrifice thing, where he reads about like the old stories of pagan Europe with the different parts of people and the different roles that people play, and then there's sometimes, if it's really bad harvest, they could do a sacrifice, but it's very rare. And then he goes to the photo thing and he finds the picture that's been missing, and then he realizes the harvest has been bad, and it's just this sort of slowly building up and slowly putting the pieces together. In this movie, Nicolas Cage version, sort of like one of the first people he talks to in the movie is like, yeah, we had a horrible harvest last year, the worst ever.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's like takes an entire movie in the first one to figure that out. In this one, people just tell him.
Yeah, and that really, I mean, that doesn't ruin it for you the first time. It just makes it very confusing the first time. But on repeat viewings, the movie's completely ruined because you know exactly what's going to happen and you're just waiting for it. Yeah. And there's nothing interesting going on in the meantime. No. The old one at least has stuff going on, and there's the debate, Christianity versus religion that Christopher Lee has with the cop, Constable Howie, whatever his name is, the actor. And it's interesting, and as you know, I'm not a huge fan of musicals, kind of don't like them at all. Yeah. So some of the music numbers was like, okay, get on with it. Like when Britt Ekland is just dancing around naked for like 5 minutes. It's like, it's a funny scene because the cop is like, no, I must not be horny. Like, it's funny, but it goes on for way too long.
Yeah, I who really likes musicals, I think there's a little too much music. We don't need 2 full songs before he lands at the island. I mean,
yeah.
We have a sermon and then 2 full songs and then the movie starts, and it's just, come on now. Yeah. And then and in this is sort of what people who don't like musicals, this is sort of what I think they think a musical is. Of this, because this is definitely those, okay everybody, just pause the movie for 3 minutes, we just need to sing a song that has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
So yeah, even I was a little distraught, but I do think the songs are pretty good.
Sure, the songs are good.
And they have a point to me there, but they're too.
Oh yeah.
Cut 1 or 2 off.
Yeah, the song where the children are dancing around the maypole. It's just like that didn't need to be an entire song. No, it could have just been like the first 20 seconds, then he steps in. What's going on here?
That should have been like in the background.
Yeah.
When the regular rest of the scene kept going, not he stands there. The horror of singing about sex and what children's here.
Oh.
Yeah. And that, going back to Nicolas Cage version.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest problems I think with the movie is the fucking music in the Nicolas Cage version. It's so overly dramatic when nothing happens, like all the time, and it's super like, oh, it's horror now, and you're like, no, it's just walking in the daylight. Nothing is happening. What are you doing?
Yeah, that's also a big problem. That the old one, is regarded as a horror movie, but I gotta say, other than the ending, it didn't really affect me in a horrific way.
No, it as I said, it's this deep-seated something is wrong, but it's not scary at all. It's just sort of creepy and a little uncomfortable at times.
Yeah.
And I think I prefer that than to the fucking jump scare shit that the Wicker Man is.
Yes, because that's actually like something that the director pointed out, that he wanted to make it scarier to the point where he actually, like, the scene where the crow is in the school bench.
Yeah.
Like, he points out that, like, in the original, it's just a beetle or a bug tied to a string. Like, that's not very scary, so we thought we could cram in a jump scare here. It's like, why would you do that?
Yeah, I mean, no, it's one of those things I don't understand. Everybody knows, like, it's common knowledge. Everyone knows that jump scares is bad. We don't want them. You can have one, maybe two in a movie, and you need a lot of build-up and a lot of things before and after for it to work. You can't just put in a jump scare. Everyone knows this.
Yeah.
Why do people still do it? Why does this guy do it all the time? Because no jump scare in this movie is deserved. There's not one. It's just, he's here and BAM! Jump scare. Oh, okay.
And it never works. That's the worst thing. Because, as much as we all hate jump scares, they do work. They startle you. You go, oh shit.
Yeah.
They don't scare you, but you react to them. But in this movie, you react just like Nicolas Cage does when he sees the bird. He's like, what? He's like, he gets annoyed, and that's me every time a jump scare is in a movie. He's like, what? Hey, what? No, stop!
Yeah, because a jump scare that works, that is, it needs to be earned. It needs to have this release of tension. You build up tension for a long while, and then we get a jump scare to release that tension. In this one, there's no tension. It's just loud noise.
Yeah.
From nowhere.
No. The tension is Nicolas Cage pointing at the bench and saying, "Whose bench is that?" Keep pointing, walking towards it. It's just. Yeah, well, I guess we'll get to his acting a little later. Let's keep harping on this piece of shit movie.
Yeah, and again with the music at the end, because at the end, both movies end with this sort of parade when they're walking through the islands. They're all dressed up and they're playing like these instruments and this way to the sacrifice sort of thing.
Yeah.
In this movie, they have scary music. In the background,
we don't hear the
but we see people play instruments, and we hear sometimes. It's like, let us hear the instruments. That's more creepy.
Yeah. Like let the ritual speak for itself.
Yeah.
Instead of telling the audience this is supposed to be scary. Yeah. You get it? And also, why intercut that with a fight scene between Nicolas Cage and Lily Sobieski? Like, this movie it's so weird, and that's a big part of it also. The editing in this movie is all over the place.
Yeah.
Like the scene where he holds up the doll and says, "How to get burned, how to get burned." That scene would have worked if it doesn't like do a jump cut in the middle, so then he repeats himself. How to get burned? How to get burned? How to get burned? Like, just let him say it once or twice and let her like stumble through her words. It would have worked, but now it's assaulting your senses.
Yeah,
because of the editing.
Also, these things with the fucking flashbacks all the time. Yeah, and I had to like rewind and pause to figure out why the flashbacks are there, because there is a payoff to the flashbacks, but it's just so fast that you don't even realize it. That all the people in the flashback is actually people from the island.
Well, are they or aren't they? Because he do hallucinate sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I don't.
That's the thing. It's unclear because wasn't a clear vision for what the point was of the flashbacks.
Well, no. So the way I interpret it, which I think is what they want to do, but it just do it so fucking poorly with a payoff that is blink and you miss it, is that the girl and the daughter at the daughter and her mother at the beginning in the car, that they are people from the island, and the whole thing, the whole accident is orchestrated to give him this sort of I failed this girl thing, trauma.
Okay.
And then the policewoman, which we also see on the island in that scene.
We do?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's where I had to rewind and pause. The woman who is his colleague, the policewoman, and the girl and the mother, they all takes off their mask at the end and stand side by side.
What? Okay, I missed that.
Okay, yeah, because the mother, whatever, Summerisle, says like, we have orchestrated this, and then it's a cut which is like half a second when these three people take off the masks and stand each other. So that's the other thing, that the policewoman gave him the letter. Oh, because she comes to his apartment. It's like, here's some letter or some mail.
But that is so contrived because he already had a connection to the island. The lady Willow or whatever her name was.
Yeah, but
that was the connection.
Yeah,
why all the other shit?
No, it's this thing that there is a connection is because that's sort of what they do in. We come to that the scene that's not in the unrated version with James Franco. But so this is a thing they do apparently, that they go to the main island, get a child with a guy, and then so that's a thing that they did. But they need a sacrifice. So. Oh,
right.
So the scheme.
So they needed someone familiar,
Yeah, so the scheme that they do is, okay, they pick him. Okay, so first of all, how do we get the letter to him? Yes, we use this policewoman. I don't know how they planted that.
They couldn't just mail it to him.
Yeah, because that's the thing that he says, like, oh, look, there's no stamp on the mail. How did they get here? That's because it was the policewoman who gave it to him. It never got to the police station. She gave it to him directly.
Okay.
And then the reason, because he's like, why should I go to Willow? She's like this, she fucking blew me off several years ago. Why should I even meet her? Because he has the trauma of a girl with a red shirt.
Right.
He failed that, and now he has to go there. So it's this big. You see that they had a big thought, a big thing about this. And that's why they have these hallucination and flashbacks, so you can get the connection at the end. But the payoff goes by so fast that you miss it, and then it just feels weird.
Yeah.
So there is a point. It's just that they fuck up the payoff.
And it's a super elaborate plan. That's like, which I think they deal with pretty well in the original.
Yeah.
Where it's kept as a mystery instead of revealing like, haha, this was our plan all along. No, when he arrives at the island, he talks like, I got a letter. It was written to me, like directly to me, but there's no stamp on it. No, there's a stamp. That's how he gets to the island.
Yeah, they just sent him to him like regularly.
Yeah. That makes more sense, but he doesn't know who sent it because he doesn't know anyone on the island. Why would they send it to me?
Yeah,
and that never gets resolved. Well, I guess it gets resolved that they just sent it because they wanted him to get there. But I mean, they don't say, "Ha, we needed you, so we sent the letter." Like, no, just.
So what they should have done in this movie is they should have cut out all the fucking flashbacks, and then at the end, when we get the reveal that they are the people, we get a zoom in on each face, and then we get a flashback.
Yeah, that could
to
help.
See, like, you have a zoom in on the policewoman's face, and then a flashback to when she gives her the mail, and then a flashback to the mother and the daughter when they are in the car, and like, oh, it was them all along. Ah. But no.
Or they could also go the very easy route that they once again do in the original. Like, he's a cop. Like, he more or less has an obligation to investigate.
Yeah.
If someone just says my daughter is missing, please help me. He can't. The only reason he might want to blow that off is because it was his old fiance. He's like, no, I don't want to do that. But if it was just a random mysterious person sending me a note, he as a detective should be like, I should check this out.
Yeah,
it would make so much more sense.
Yeah, I just think the writer of this movie, he had a vision, and he could not cut out things. He could not rewrite his vision because he had decision. It's the same thing with why make it this this convoluted way to get into the island. He's not in the jurisdiction. He actually doesn't have any power, which is stupid. Why? Because that's one of the great parts of the original where he's like, I have the law on my side, and everyone says, yeah, we don't care, and he's like, but I'm a cop. They're like, yeah, so, and that sort of gives another level of creepiness or weirdness. But here he's just, I'm a cop, and everybody says, yeah, but you don't have any power here. He's like, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, it's so weird, which also kind of clashes with the idea that they had for this movie, where it's supposed to be a horror movie, but I know Nicolas Cage kind of saw it as a police procedural. Like he acted as he was in a cop movie to make the character more realistic.
Yeah.
Which that mixing those two, mixing horror with a cop genre thing, rarely works. I mean, there haven't been that many, and they never work. Because the only other one I can think of is Deliver Us from Evil that Scott Derrickson made in 2013 or something, which is another movie where hard ass New York's cops try to capture this demon that is killing people, and it ends with an exorcism in the cop station. It just does not work. It gotta be either horror or police procedural. Those two, you can do horror and comedy, sure. You can do horror and drama, but horror and police procedural does not work. That's why the scene in the end, when they're all closing in on him, like, you are our victim, instead of him going, oh no, it's just really scary. No, he acts like a police, draws his gun and starts kicking people. Which just ruins the scene, ruins the suspense of the scene. But that's what a cop would have done. Yeah, but that's not what you should have done in the movie.
Yeah. And back to this, that he didn't... So he had this weird... And he has this... You see that there is some... He is, put in a lot of time in the theory of this... Because I looked it up afterwards. This kind of drone thing.
Yeah.
Because they talk, there's a lot of imagery and a lot of things about bees, and at the end they say the drone needs to be sacrificed and things like that. So in the bee society or whatever, the drone is only there for reproduction, and then they are sort of killed off. So that's the thing, and so he has this drone thing where he needs to have got a child from someone on the island to make that work. But then how to get him to the island, he has to sort of make a mental backflip to just fucking make sense of that, where he should have just taken one of them. Either he's there because he cares about the girl, or we have this super intricate way of getting him there. Not both.
Yeah, exactly.
but he was, oh no, I can't cut out. It's perfect, and it's just so bad.
Yeah,
And I also I do like again with this just the weird rewrites, because Sister Summerisle, who is in the original is Lord Summerisle.
Yeah.
In the original, we have this talk about Lord Summerisle where he's his grandfather or something came to the island and sort of reintroduced paganism, and he used it sort of to have a leverage on the workers to make them work. He didn't really believe it himself. He just yeah, this is gonna make people work, sort of.
Well, wasn't it that he they started the whole vegetable thing, where they grow and sell vegetables, and there was always a plentiful harvest, and yeah, his explanation was because of the paganism part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, it was because he was sort of experimenting with creating new strains of vegetables that work there. So he was like, "Follow me and do as I say, and we will have a plentiful harvest." And we're like, "Oh, fair enough." And now we're like 4 generations in, and even the Lord, or the Lord that is now, he has even though he knows it's sort of bullshit, he believes it because they're all just raised into it.
Yeah.
And I think that's an interesting thing of just sort of critiquing religion, that even though you know that the origins are not real, you can still believe it and you can still be part of it in a way.
Yeah.
And in the remake is just, men were bad, so we moved here. It's like, okay. Sure. No, it's men were bad. We moved to Salem, and then they started witch trials, and so men were bad there too. Then we moved here, and it's just that's not an interesting story at all. It's just there's no interest there.
No, it's much more like it's a horror movie, so we got to make them witches.
Yeah,
and we got to mention Salem because you can't have a witch in a Hollywood movie without mentioning Salem.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, like, there is... I have problem getting anything that is good in this movie.
Yes, I was just gonna ask you that. Like, is there anything you like about it?
I don't know. I mean, I guess sort of sometimes the set is looking kind of good.
Yeah,
maybe.
I guess, but that's all something I found out. A lot of it is just location stuff. They didn't build a lot of it.
Yeah,
they just went to this place in Canada, which was like an old women's club where they hung out and did whatever women do. I don't know. And so they recreated a couple of things on a set, and of course they built the big Wicker Man. That's impressive. The Wicker Man is huge and it's all real, so mostly real, which is cool because it's like twice the size of the original Wicker Man.
Yeah,
but that's a weak positive.
Yeah, I think that's sort of it. It's the setting looks kind of good sometimes. That's the biggest compliment I can give this movie. It's I don't know. Maybe the music is good if it was used in another movie. Maybe, but maybe. There's good actors in the movie. They don't do a good job acting, but they're there.
Well, they're there. Yeah, it's a star-studded cast. Ellen Burstyn, Nicolas Cage. Did you see Aaron Eckhart is in the movie?
I did not notice that.
It's a blink it and you'll miss him, because he is the guy in the diner in the beginning who gets up and leaves as the camera zooms in on Nicolas Cage. That's Aaron Eckhart.
Oh, cool.
I guess it was before he got big with Thank You for Smoking, and he was friends with labute. So he usually had a small part in each one of his movies. So you just put him in a cameo. But it's kind of funny now. It's oh shit, that's Aaron Eckhart. What the fuck is he doing in this movie?
Yeah, and James Franco and Jason Ritter is in the ending.
Yeah, which is so. But at that point, James Franco was a big star. This was after the Spider-Man 1 and 2. He had blown up.
Yeah.
Why the fuck was he in this movie?
Well, I mean, why is James Franco in anything really? He's just in things because he thinks it's funny.
I guess that's true.
If you look at every movie he's done, more than a third of them is what? Why? He's it's fun. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And yeah, so did you watch that because in the unrated version we saw, they cut out 6 months later scene. Did you watch that?
I didn't watch it this time. I only watched the unrated, but I have seen that because that was the DVD version I owned before I threw it away.
So because I looked it up afterwards.
Yeah.
So from what I've gathered, the unrated version ends with the Wicker Man just falling, and then credits. In the original cut or theatrical cut, they cut to this extra scene and then credits. And this extra scene really like the little momentum and the little feelings you had is just ruined for that scene.
Yeah, because in the remake, much like the original, the one like good scene is when they burn him. Like that's even Nicolas Cage, like he does a good job in that scene.
No.
But yeah, they cut away from that to a club.
Yeah, because the 6 months later scene, it's so long. Also,
it is.
It's like a few minutes long, and we have sort of this. Because it's like James Franco and Jason Ritter is just hanging out in a bar and they're talking, and then they're like, "Oh, there's no good girls here tonight. Want a drink? Yeah, let's get a drink." And then 2 girls come in, like, "Oh, we need to see those people." And they go there, and then they have some banter, and it's the guy. No, what's he called?
The girl.
No, yeah, the Nicolas Cage's girl.
Willow.
Yeah,
I don't know the actress, but yeah, Willow.
So it's her, and then the girl who says, "When you leave, take me with you."
Yeah, that's Lily Sobieski.
Yeah. So those 2, and then they have like, I mean, it's not super long, but it's like a minute of banter where they're like, "Oh, well, I mean, we didn't think there would be any nice girls here. It's super cool that you're here. What are you doing? Oh, you're from around here. Okay." And it's like, it's just going on steam at that point. You're like, what the fuck is this? Is the movie over or not? and then the movie ends with Willow goes with Jason Ritter to the bar to get drinks, and then Lily Sobieski is leaning over to James Franco and is like, "So, where are you going after this?" "Oh, I'm going home." "When you go, will you take me with you?"
Oh! Whoa, credits. She said the thing!
Yeah, and then credits. And it's just...
You know how they should do that scene? I'm just like thinking in my head. It should be like a minute 30 at most. Yeah. And it should be, fade to black from the Wicker Man. And you fade up on the bar. You do a dolly along the bar. And then you pan up and you see Jason Ritter. He is doing something, trying to get the bartender's attention. Yeah. And then James Franco walks up. "Dude, I found these 2 like really hot girls. We gotta go talk to them." "But I don't know, man. I'm trying to get a drink." Then he gets a drink. "No, come with me. And she's like, "You're not gonna believe how hot they are." And then you walk with them. You cut to and then pan up to the booth where they're sitting. Mm. And we see that it's Willow and whatever the other one was called, Honey or whatever.
Yeah. At that end.
And they're like, "Hey," and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, because we know. Oh shit, they're doing it again.
Yeah. So I just checked
out. Not this drawn out fucking.
The ending scene is 3 minutes long.
That's twice.
Just meandering around in a bar, and it's just, come on. We had this big, like, sort of an explosive ending.
Yeah, you remember the Wicker Man?
Yeah, we can't cut from there to just people talking for 3 minutes. It's for a reveal which doesn't give any impact at all. Because he's like, "Did you know that you're bad?" Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. It's it really does everything wrong. This movie.
And again, I would say for everyone who's interested, who hasn't watched this and want to see So Bad It's Good, watch The Wicker Man, the remake, way before you see the original one.
Yeah.
Because the original one sort of takes the fun out of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
It's not fun. It's just meandering. But yeah, so that's the movie. What do we think about Nicolas Cage in the movie?
This is a classic, wrong director for Nicolas Cage. He needed someone. We talked about this. He needed someone on the same wavelength as him, and labute is just wrong. Because he talks about how Nicolas Cage was just break a scene in the middle. Like, no, I want to do this instead. And there are those choices that sometimes they're gold, but sometimes they can get very awkward. This is the thing with Nicolas Cage's style. And that's where you need a director who instead of just saying, okay, will actually say, no, just finish it like this, then we'll do your thing, and we'll see what works best. Here he was just like, no, let's do it like this instead. And that's what we have, sure, we have some scenes that then become, if we're going to believe Nicolas Cage, are intentionally funny, but... yeah, that's something I want to talk a little about in a second. But for the most part, he just looks awkward in the movie. There's a lot of him just looking perplexed, looking around, and saying the lines he says are weird, or it's delivered in a weird way. It doesn't work at all, and I don't know. Now I kind of become enamored with him at this point, so I don't want to say he's bad. It's just the director's fault, but he might just be bad in this movie.
I would say the biggest issue in this movie is what we talked a lot about before in movies where Nicolas Cage isn't great.
Yeah.
That the biggest issue here is that he really brings an energy into this movie that the movie should not have.
Exactly.
And that no one responds to. Because in the... Again, comparing with the original, because it's easy, because we have an original to compare with.
Yeah.
The big thing there is, you have this sort of straight man, sort of very rigid, religious man, very proper man, coming to an island full of heathens who are colorful characters, very open and sort of weird to his eyes. And it's this clash of, he's like, what's going on? They're so weird here.
Yeah.
And this movie, Nicolas Cage is the weird one who comes to an island of very subdued, calm people who's just like, yeah, I mean, we like to just hang out, sit around, talking about flowers, sort of. And he's like, what do you mean? And
he keeps pulling his gun, he kicks in doors.
Yeah, he's just super aggressive and super, like, from the start, like, from the beginning of the movie. Because that's one thing. In the original, when the policeman comes to the inn to get a room, he's first of all, he's been on the island for a while, and he's sort of got these people are weird feeling.
Yeah.
But then he gets this room, and then he does this big when he slams his badge on the table and he says, "Okay, everyone, I'm here to investigate a murder." And you see that he's it's not anger, it's not irritation, it's just authority. Hello everyone, I am a police officer. Listen to me. Nicolas Cage, the first thing he does when he comes to the island sort of is go to the inn, slams the badge and says, "Alright, shut up everyone, I'm talking." And he's super angry, super aggressive. And it's like, wait, why are you so aggressive? No one has been weird to you yet, really. So he should have been Lord Summerisle in this movie. He should have been
that could have been fun.
Yeah, but the big weird guy who is this big personality who has everyone below him, not this single cop with no authority going around being angry and kicking and punching people.
Yeah, and then but like going back to just the dialogue he is given in this movie. I mean, the first thing he says when he gets to the island, or I guess he talks to the guy who flies the plane. He says, "Ahoy there!" Like, and it's such a weird delivery. And the guy he flies a plane. He's not a. I guess he's still technically captain then, but he's not. It's not a boat guy. Ahoy there! He's so awkward. And then when he gets to the island and you see the two men carrying the sack and there's something moving in it, he's like, "Oh, what do you got in there? A baby shark?" See, why would you? Why? Who wrote that line? Why is that in? Why would it have a baby shark? Why? You're just adding to the awkward that's already in the movie.
Yeah, they sort of at the start of the movie, both in when he talks with the female cop in his apartment, when he talks with Pete, I think is called, his colleague, and then the plane guy, and then the sack people. All of these scenes, they sort of portray him as this nice goofball guy.
Yeah.
And then he just...
Which he then isn't.
Yeah, well, then he just switches to super aggressive authoritarian guy.
Asshole,
and, yeah, and it's this weird, like, whiplash effect. And it's like, what kind of characters are you trying to portray? And yeah, that's the script. That is not his acting issue.
No, yeah. Well, I think it might be, because once again, in the commentary track, the director talks about how Nicolas Cage thought that in certain situations, the character, whatever his name is, like he reacts, like he snaps into cop mode, because instead of like showing fear or showing that he's confused, he just snaps into being a cop. Like that, a perfect example of that is the whole step away from the bike scene when he tries to get her to get off the bike. At first he's just like, get off the bike, and then he just pulls his gun on her. That's my favorite scene in the movie. And that's because he snaps into cop mode. And that's also, he's the kind of goofy, silly guy, but then when he needs to, he just snaps into cop mode. Thing is, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's not
in the movie at all.
That's not what you can't
do that. Yeah, exactly. It just feels like two different people.
Yeah, so that's the thing. And then the other problem with this big problem with the script, that's not just Nicolas Cage, that's everyone, is that it's so clumsy in expositions.
Oh, yeah.
Like, again, as I said, Nicolas Cage never figures anything out. He just goes to talk with people who tells him everything.
Yeah.
He never connects two dots in the entire movie. He just goes to a place and says, so how's the harvest went? Oh, it was bad. Oh, okay. Then he goes to someone else, and then, yeah, when the harvest is bad, we kill someone. Oh, okay. Then he goes to someone else. Yeah, sometimes we kill a girl. Oh, okay.
Oh.
And it's like, it's just, okay. And then another problem with Nicolas Cage is, that's a combination of his acting and the writing. He's just bumbling around and is, like, not natural. I'm thinking of the scene where he falls into bees.
Yeah.
Where he goes through, because he's allergic to bees, deathly allergic to bees. And then he appears, I don't know how he did not realize this, he appears in the middle of, like, the biggest fucking field of bees ever.
Yeah.
He just, oh my god, he just sort of wakes up looking around, there are bees everywhere. And then he bumps into bees.
A beehive, yeah.
And then he sort of like does this, I was saying that when watching the movie, it felt like Nicolas Cage, he was like the main character in a video game, because he never walks, he only like half jogs everywhere. yeah. So he just sort of half jogs. It felt sort of like a scene from The Happening, when he half jogs away in terror from something we don't see.
Yeah.
And then he doesn't fall, he sort of throws himself into more beehives. and then he's out. What's going on?
It's just a mess.
Yeah. And that's a combination of Nicolas Cage just doing a poor job overall in that scene, and no one, and I say no one, I mean no director was there to say, you know what, let's do that another way. That didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. We talked about him like running around. There's a lot of scenes of him just walking or running or jogging, I suppose. That's also one of my favorites. When he's I'm gonna search every nook and cranny of this island for the next 3 hours, and if anyone gets in my way, I'm holding him arrested for murder or whatever. There's one scene where he jogs or he saunters whatever into a crossroad.
Oh yeah,
and he stands there. He looks around. This is literally a shot that we did when we were like in not even high school, in like elementary school, shooting films. Walk into frame, look around, walk out of frame.
Yeah.
Like you don't put that in a professional movie.
Yeah,
there are so many scenes of that, of him just walking around in the movie.
Yeah, there was one scene I really felt that. There was a lot of them, but it's when the plane lands the second time.
Yes.
And he's like the plane, and we just see a faraway shot of him entering the scene, half jogging from the left, jogging through to the end of the scene or the frame, and then cut to another place where he jogs from one end of the frame to the other, and then another one. It's just, the fuck is this? This is like high school filmmaking.
And you know the worst part? That was a deliberate choice by the director. Because his explanation is that, well, we see the plane, and fly past the window, and then we can't just immediately cut to Nicolas Cage by the plane, because then there wouldn't be enough time for them to break the radio and remove the pilot guy.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to show that, like, there's a lot of island between him and the plane. Like, he has to go a certain distance to get to the plane. So we had to show that in the movie, of course.
Yes, I agree.
So,
but you can't.
Yeah, sure.
But you can't just do this fucking establishing shot where he just runs from frame to frame. We do another, like, other perspectives.
Yeah, you know what? They could have shown, instead of just having the plane fly past the window, because that's a CGI plane, by the way. It's not a real plane. So they could do whatever they want with it. Show him walk over to the window, see it land far away, and then I gotta go. And then cut when he's there. And like, oh, okay, so it took him a while to get there.
Yeah. Or just...
But no, instead show, like, well, it's far away, so we show that by showing him running a lot, instead of just showing the plane far away. And the worst part is that this director, he has done like good stuff before and after this.
What good things has he done?
I mean, I haven't seen any of it, but it's been like I think I've seen some of it, but I looked it up. Like, he's gotten good reviews before.
Oh wait, isn't that a movie you like? Death at a Funeral?
Yeah, Death at a Funeral is fun. Nurse Betty is pretty good.
Yeah, I haven't seen like anything he's done. I don't recognize like anything except Death at a Funeral. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, I think that's fun.
Nothing about his person.
It's so weird, and he's done some episodes of Hell on Wheels. That was an okay show. I saw some of it. I don't know if I saw any of his episodes, but it was an okay show. Like, in the middle of all this, there's this fucking beast, this mutated fucking monster of a movie called the Wicker Man.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the perfect way to describe this movie. It's strange. It's
so strange.
How did no one just, hey, what the fuck is going on during production?
Yeah.
Because it's so obvious how bad it is. I mean, even if there are reasons, there are like scenes out of context on YouTube where you don't know anything about the movie, but just like, that's fucking bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, his character is named Edward Mollis. Mollis is a tree.
Yeah, it's an apple tree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, apples. That was the thing in the original. So it's an homage. Also, well, okay, this is more important because we've touched upon this before, that this was kind of the beginning of the downfall for Nicolas Cage. That video we have referenced a couple of times.
Yeah.
I think in that one they mentioned that it was no, it was you that said, maybe you saw it in that video, whatever. It was the YouTube compilation of clips from this movie that kind of cemented Nicolas Cage as, the weird guy.
Yeah, it was this thing of someone just for laughs, no ill intent, I am sure. He created a video. He saw this because everyone saw this movie when it was new. Not everyone, but a lot of people. It went around when it got out because everyone was like, "You gotta see this shit. Don't just go into it blind and just talk to me later. It's gonna be hilarious, sort of." So everyone saw this and they're like, "What the fuck is going on here?" And this is so bad. And then this guy, he took like the worst scenes of this movie and then intercut it with these fragments of Rage Cage throughout his career that we have gone through now. Like scenes from Vampire's Kiss and from other movies, which is out of context, but you put them in context of this movie, which makes his whole career look like this is what he does. He does super bad acting. Even though, as we've established time and time again, he's a great actor. He's a very, very good actor.
Consistently throughout, like, at this point in his career, like 30 years.
Yeah, but in most of his...
20 years, I suppose.
Yeah, but in most of his movies, he has these few moments where he sort of rage cages out, and those moments, in context of this movie, makes him look like a really bad and weird actor.
Yeah, but in the context of the movies they're from, it works.
It works great.
Yeah, it's out of context in a compilation. It just looks weird.
Yeah, like
bad. Yeah.
Again, Vampire's Kiss is the perfect example of a movie where out of context he looks like a fucking lunatic, and it's like this isn't even good acting. This is just fucking weird. But in context of the movie, it works. It's a perfect portrayal of a
person going insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that sort of cemented Nicolas Cage in like the mainstream of that weird guy who's bad at acting and is very over the top.
Yeah.
And that's sort of... And Nicolas Cage himself had talked about it, that it sort of became his career. Because when he got offered movies, that's what the context was.
Oh.
People offered him movies based on this faulty perception of he's a quirky, weird guy, which made him make more of those movies, which made him sort of become that. So, because of this specific compilation video, it sort of steered his career to do movies like Season of the Witch or Drive Angry. These kind of weird movies, which is very memeable.
Yeah, and because he's... as he has stated before, like he's the kind of guy who just wants to make movies, and if someone asks him, I mean, he'll do it, even if it's like a young unknown director who's doing his first movie. Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, if he thinks the screenplay or the role is talking to him or gives him anything, he's there, he's down.
And before this, that didn't happen that often. We have a few examples of that, but after this one, people saw that he was in a shit movie. They were like, maybe I can get Nicolas Cage into my shit movie. That's just that's conjecture, but that's what the feeling I get. Like then, the director of Season of the Witch, who would say, no, I can't get him. He's an Oscar winner.
Yeah.
He saw the Wicker Man. Was like, maybe.
Yeah. And that's sort of like, it was this self-fulfilling prophecy of him being a bad actor, so he sort of became that, and again, that's what people wanted to see. When people went to see a Nicolas Cage movie, they wanted to see a bad one. They didn't want to see like Leaving Las Vegas of Nicolas Cage anymore. Yeah. They wanted to see Drive Angry, when Nicolas Cage is
Was it
over the
demon
top.
who escaped from hell? And,
Yeah, something. We come to that. We get to that.
we'll get to that. Yeah.
And that sort of just, it just became. And he doesn't really care because he, again, as we talked about, he just want to make movies.
Yeah.
He just want to work. He doesn't really care about the perception of him or what's going on, and he doesn't really care about celebritydom or all those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's just, okay, I'll make these kind of movies. People seem to want it.
But it's still weird how it just, if you look at his filmography, it almost like flipped on a dime after this movie. Because just before this, and we've talked about that because we're doing this chronologically. Just before this, he did The Weatherman, he did Matchstick Men, Adaptation, fucking Captain Corelli's Mandolin. That was all just in the 5 years before this. Some of his best acting in some of those movies.
Yeah.
And then after The Wicker Man, he got Grindhouse. All of a sudden, he's he's in one of those movies. He did the next Bangkok Dangerous, Knowing, Sorcerer's Apprentice, Season of the Witch, Drive Angry. It's just like, not only those movies. I skipped over a couple of, like, he did National Treasure 2, of course, but it's so much trash after this.
Yeah.
In a career that has mostly been, like, good movies.
Yeah.
Whether they're, if they're big or not, doesn't matter. They're just still good movies for the most part.
Yeah, most movies have something to... most of the movies are, like, worth a watch, at least. There are obviously a few that isn't, but most are like, they're fine. But from here on out, it's not that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking through it, and we've skipped a couple where he was just a small role, but, like, just skimming through it, the only ones I would say you can skip in his entire career, out of those that we've talked about, is Firebirds, of course. I'll never forgive him for that movie. God damn it. And then I suppose Zandali, but I still think he's great in Zandali. Just the movie's pretty bad. But other than that, it's gold. And there's even, if you want, the Rage Cage. I mean, you got A Vampire's Kiss, you got Deadfall. Like, but it works much better than it does in this movie. Even Deadfall is better than this.
Yeah, true.
Barely, but you know. So it's so strange.
Yeah, so it's just, and also that's a big thing that we need to consider when talking about this is sort of when the internet appeared too.
Yeah, it got big there.
But before this, internet wasn't really a thing. So this is when internet started to affect real life in a big way. So I think that's also because if this movie would have come like say 4 or 5 years earlier,
it would have been forgotten completely.
Yeah, it would have been just forgotten. It was it would be still be like this so bad it's good. The community, but it would be definitely not a movie that would change a career.
No.
So it just came in the perfectly wrong place.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
In both his career and time, generally.
Yeah, because it's 2006, so it's just when Facebook is like starting to get big. Yeah. So people start sharing things on Facebook. Like, it's perfect opportunity to share this strange compilation of Nicolas Cage being weird. Oh, okay. Yeah. It's really sad. The internet did him dirty.
Yeah.
It's I can see why he's not very active on the internet.
Yeah, so this was sort of the death of good Nicolas Cage in a way, and death of his career for quite a while at least.
Yeah, I mean he kept working, but it wasn't as prestigious as it was before this. You know?
So there was like, so this was the movie, but there was one more movie he got out before the shit hit the fan. And that's next week. That's World Trade Center.
Oh, right.
Because at that point, that's the same year the internet hadn't really started running with it then yet.
No,
So he got, because that's like Oliver Stone, and that is Oliver Stone, right?
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So that's like a big prestigious role, and I think it's. I haven't seen it. It looks kind of boring, so it's probably quote unquote good. Because that's Oliver Stone. He makes good, boring movies.
Sure.
So yeah, we'll see. But he got that out. But from then on, his career just plummeted, and that's why we do a season break after World Trade Center.
Yes, exactly.
So next season is the decline of Nicolas Cage, sort of.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say though, because I was looking at the reviews of this, and it didn't get. I mean, it has a Metascore of 36, which is higher than I would give it, but it's it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
But it actually has a couple of good reviews.
Really?
Yeah.
Ebert.
No, I don't think Ebert actually. No, he didn't. Hold on. No, I can't. No, he didn't review it. Chicago Sun-Times did not review it. But New York Post gave this a 75, or because I could actually this time the link actually worked, so I could read the entire review. He gave it 3 out of 5 stars. This guy, Kyle Smith.
Oh.
I won't read the whole thing. It's not that long, but I'm not going to sit there and just read this thing. But the blurb is profoundly disturbing, blood-chilling suspenser. And I don't know. Did he watch the original? Maybe. Or when is this profoundly disturbing?
Yeah. It was the crow in the desk, definitely. That was. Ooh.
Sure. Yeah. And then. Entertainment Weekly gave it a slightly lower score. It said, despite its logy red herring structure, the film has enough enigma and weirdness that it gradually stirs to life. I don't know.
No.
And here, the last positive, because it literally only has 3 positive reviews, is from the Boston Globe. It says, as it is, Labute has cleverly repurposed his creepy source material. This Wicker Man, which wasn't screened for critics, they have to point out, is a nutty atonement for the gender assaults of his filmmaking and playwriting past, including In the Company of Man, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So this is supposed to redeem him for writing, what, misogynist stuff before? Okay?
Mm. Yeah. So...
and it actually... This is kind of weird also. The worst review is not a 0, which I was pretty sure was going to be a 0. But no, it's a 2 out of 10 from the Austin Chronicle. So, or a 1 out of 5. Yeah, 2 out of 10. 1 out of 5. I am so confused.
Yeah. So the user reviews is sort of as you can think. It has a 3.7, so it's sort of close. Mostly ones, and then there are a few. There's like most people say worst movie ever.
It's not.
Gives a 1 because it's the worst. One person said the most painful cinema experience ever.
I can see that if you saw it in the theater. Yeah.
Another one was a low point in cinematic history. But and then there are a few people who is more I would say honest in the reviews, or more correct. Which gives them like a 3 or a 4 that is like,
right.
Yeah, it is a movie, but it's not good, sort of.
Because it does look like a movie.
It's not like a weird experimental shit show. It's just that they do a like. Again, the set design is fine. The costumes are fine.
Cinematography is fine.
It's fine. All the technical things are fine except the editing and the music. But everything else, all the problems is stemming from the director or the actors or the writing.
Yeah.
Everything else is fine. So I wouldn't say this is a 1.
No.
In that aspect. Anyway, so I saw one review which I think that was the funniest title review. Worst remake of 2006.
Okay.
Was there that many remakes in 2006? That it's just.
Actually, I gotta double check this because there might be actually one of my one of my favorite remakes ever. The Hills Have Eyes came out the same year, so I guess. Yeah,
I guess it's just I just like the concept of that he has a scale for remakes. It's just that, but yeah. So it's mostly ones and threes and fours. There's nothing higher than a 6, and the only 6 I've seen is like it's fun at least. That's sort of what the 6s that I see.
Because I thought there was going to be some tense like, oh, best movie ever, Nicolas Cage is a god.
No.
Like a joke review.
Weird enough, no. Here's one is a piece of comedy. As a piece of comedy, it's excellent. 6 out of 10. That's sort of what people say. If they give it higher than 5, that's because it's funny. But yeah,
that's so weird because like if you give it a score like that, like a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
That feels like you genuinely thought it was okay.
Yeah.
And just saying that, the funny scenes make this okay? Like, no, it doesn't. And the funny scenes are only funny because they're bad.
Yeah.
So either way, this is a low score movie, or you give it an ironic 10 out of 10.
Yeah. There's one here, is 4 out of 10. This is one of the funniest films I've ever seen. Essentially, Nicolas Cage plays himself and invades an island to assault a bunch of cult members and then scream about bees. And here we have the perfect example of Nicolas Cage plays himself. That is what we talked about. People think that this is how
Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, which is far from it.
From what I understand, yeah. Hopefully.
Well, yeah. But yeah, so there's nothing really interesting in the review department for user reviews. It's one of those movies. It's fun to talk about with friends, but I mean, you don't put a score on it, sort of.
No, exactly. It's beyond that.
Yeah, as you said, it's like either you give it an honest score, which is very low, or you give it an ironic 10 out of 10. That's
yeah.
So
okay.
Yeah.
One last thing before we give our scores. I'm pretty sure I know what we're gonna give them, but because, like I said, I do enjoy the funny scenes in this, the ones everyone talk about, the ones that are in the compilation. But I'm assuming you like them as well, or enjoy them as well.
The compilation videos.
No, the scenes from that compilation video.
Oh yeah.
The one how they get burned, step away from the bike.
Yeah. I mean, I laughed off several times during the movie.
Yeah. Okay. But I guess this maybe is a dumb question, but would you rather this movie didn't exist, so we didn't have those scenes, but Nicolas Cage's career didn't plummet? Like,
I would say yes, actually. Because again, this movie, it loses a lot of the value when you have seen the remake.
Yeah.
As a standalone movie, it's hilarious, it's super funny, and if you asked me before I saw the remake, I would say, "Oh, this movie needs to exist because it's cinema history." But since I've seen the original, it's sort of lost its charm and doesn't really have a point. Yeah, the scenes are funny, but he has made funnier scenes intentionally. Yes.
I was gonna say, I agree with you. I'd rather this movie didn't exist, and I could just watch Deadfall and Vampire's Kiss instead.
Yeah.
And then he wouldn't have become this meme. But I guess it's a double-edged sword, because do you think we would have made this podcast and discovered the fact that he is a really good actor, if we didn't see him as, the weird, funny meme guy?
Well, I mean, now we're in the very, very dangerous territory of alternate history here. Because if we imagine this movie didn't exist, then there is a huge possibility, I wouldn't say certainty, but close to a certainty, that his career would have just kept on going, and he would have become a superstar, like sort of Tom Cruise or Johnny Depp or one of these,
Yeah.
or Tom Hanks or one of these legendary actors. And if that would have happened, we probably wouldn't have seen the podcast. We probably not made a podcast, but we've probably seen a lot more of his old movies.
Probably, yeah. But also then maybe we wouldn't get like some of the smaller movies. Like we wouldn't get Bad Lieutenant, Port of Call, New Orleans,
Sure.
or Mandy. He wouldn't have the resurgence and make Mandy. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's
It's a huge, fan theory thing we're getting into,
Yeah,
which I don't like. So
it's very hard to even answer that question because you talk
Yeah.
about with so many unknowns in this that
yeah,
I don't know. It is also possible that if it didn't make this movie, he maybe gone on to make World Trade Center and maybe done some other quote-unquote boring movies, and then he would just fall in obscurity because he didn't have this culture that kept his career sort of because he always been in the forefront. People have always talked about. He was never forgotten. Because of the meme culture. So that's also possible that he would have just stopped, disappeared.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's very hard to say. So, but if you talk about this movie, it's not a movie that should exist. There's no reason for this movie to exist in itself. It's a remake of a great movie. He doesn't do anything new and has nothing to offer at all.
Yeah, it doesn't justify its existence.
Not at all.
Yeah. So, how will you score this masterpiece?
Well, again, we have this issue. Am I going to score it as the ironic masterpiece that it was before I saw the original, as a standalone movie without any context? Then it would be a very high score. Should I score it as the movie now that I have seen the original and have the context around the movie, and it's been a few years and I've seen what happened? Then it should be a very low score. But I gotta score it as within context of his career and the fact that the original exists. So I'm gonna give this one a 3.
All right, and I was ready to enjoy this because I remembered enjoying it a lot.
Yeah.
But now watching it as an adult, watching it with a more critical and more keen eye for film. Yes, the funny scenes are still funny, but that's like 5 minutes out of 100 minutes, so it doesn't make up for all the bad stuff. So I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 10. And those are it's only because there are the funny scenes.
So I'm just, before you solidify your score, do you recognize that you gave Firebirds a 2 as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is on par with Firebirds. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, because Firebirds, doesn't have any of the fun scenes, but in general, it is still a passable action movie, even though it sucks. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
This is horrendous outside of those funny scenes. So they're both a 2. Yeah.
Yeah. And I give Firebirds a 3 for the same reason. It's same reasoning, really.
Yeah.
I would be up to see any of those movies the same level. If you gave me a choice of Firebirds and Wicker Man, I'd say put on whatever you want.
Put them both on. I don't give a fuck.
So that was the Wicker Man. The sort of end of his good grace in Hollywood.
Unfortunately. Yeah, there's what he crammed in one more movie this year, like we said, World Trade Center, before everything went to hell.
Yeah.
Literally, because next movie after that is Ghost Riders. Hell, anyway.
I would have preferred that we would have a season end here because it's a great bookend. But we need to do World Trade Center. That does not fit in the next chapter.
Exactly. That's why. Why didn't we? Oh, yeah, because World Trade Center doesn't fit into the next one.
Yeah. So here next week, it's the last episode of this season. the season we called Mr. Superstar.
Yeah.
Season 2. So yeah.
And so yeah, if you wanna follow along next week, check out World Trade Center from 2006. And if you want to support this show, you can check us out on patreon.com/don'tmakeascene, where you'll get early access to episodes, you get exclusive episodes of my other podcast, Spoilercast, and monthly commentary tracks for movies. You also get to, if you're on the $3 level, you get to pick what movies we talk about on my other podcast, Spoilercast. So check that out. Support independent podcasting. Well, that's gonna have to be it for this episode. We'll see you next week with World Trade Center. But until then, have a good one. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Madness in the Method is part of Please Don't Make a Scene. It is hosted by Tobias Vedén and Christopher Billén. It is produced and directed by Tobias Vedén, after a concept by Christopher Billén. Executive producer is Annika Vedén and Laura Kinney. A big shout out to all our patrons over on patreon.com/don'tmakeascene. Laura Kinney, Mom, and Dad.